Two diamonds are sitting on my counter, both exactly 1 carat, same color, same clarity, cut to the same standard. One of them costs around $2,000 more than the other, and the cheaper one looks bigger on the hand. The only difference between those two stones is the shape. Shape is the biggest lever on what you pay and what you actually get, and nobody ranks it honestly, because every jeweler has a shape they need to move this month. So today, every diamond shape you will ever meet, ranked from worst to best. 23 of them. 17 you might put in the center of a ring, and 6 that should never be there, but are brilliant somewhere else. I am judging every one of them on 3 questions. How much light does it give back? How big does it look for the money? Because carat is a measure of weight, not size, and some shapes bury that weight down in the depth where you will never see it. And will it survive your life? Because hardness is resistance to scratching, not to impact, and GIA is blunt about this. Diamonds are not unbreakable. Exposed points and sharp corners sit on the planes where a diamond splits. And one thing almost nobody in a store will volunteer. GIA gives an overall cut grade only to round brilliance. Every fancy shape, every oval, pear, princess, emerald, cushion gets none at all. So on any certificate that is not a round, there is no line telling you whether that stone was cut well. You read the proportions yourself, or you trust the person selling it to you. 3 questions and 1 missing grade. Let us start at the bottom. Tier F, the traps. 3 shapes that are working against you before you even negotiate. Number 23, the novelty shapes. Stars, crosses, butterflies, clovers. Occasionally something genuinely strange. These exist, they are real diamonds, and they are the worst thing you can put your money into in this entire video. All 3 of my questions fail at once. The faceting is not engineered for light return, it is engineered to survive the outline, so these stones look flat next to anything cut properly. They carry the worst ratio of weight to visible size, because the inlets and points waste material. And they are the most fragile objects on this list, because a shape like a star is a collection of exposed points, every one of them a chip waiting for a door frame. Then the resale, which really stings. A round can be sold anywhere on Earth in an afternoon. A diamond butterfly can be sold to a person who specifically wants a diamond butterfly, and there are not many of them. You have taken the most liquid asset in the gem world and made it illiquid on purpose. Number 22, the heart. I know this one is emotional, and if somebody put a heart-shaped diamond on your finger and told you they loved you, this is not an attack on that. But you asked for a ranking, so here is the honest engineering. The heart is the most difficult shape in the world to cut well, which means the failure rate in real stores is enormous. Everything depends on symmetry. The 2 lobes must mirror each other precisely. The cleft between them must be sharp and centered, and the point at the bottom must line up with that cleft. Miss any of it, and the stone stops reading as a heart and starts reading as a slightly wrong blob, which your eye notices instantly, even if you cannot say why. On my 3rd question, the heart is a disaster. It has both a point at the bottom and a cleft at the top, and GIA specifically lists it among the shapes vulnerable to chipping. It needs a protective setting, no exceptions. And here is the trap that catches most buyers. Hearts only work at larger sizes, because the lobes need room to be defined. Below about 3/4 of a carat, a heart in a ring simply reads as a round stone that somebody dented. So the shape people choose, because it is romantic and affordable, is the one shape that does not work at affordable sizes. Number 21, the trillion as a center stone. And here's the first shape where I need you to hold on to something, because it comes back later in this video, and it comes back completely redeemed. A trillion is a triangle. As a center stone, it fails hard. 3 corners, all exposed, all sitting on the weakest geometry a diamond can have. It is typically cut shallow, so it looks large for its weight, which sounds like a win until you realize a shallow stone leaks light out of the bottom instead of returning it to your eye. Size without sparkle, and fragility on top. It also creates a problem nobody mentions until after you own it. A triangle does not sit comfortably next to a wedding band. That flat edge has to go somewhere, and it usually goes exactly where your other ring wants to be. Remember the trillion. It is going to earn a very different verdict before this video ends, so that is the bottom. Now we move into a tier that is not a trap at all. These next 4 shapes are legitimate, beautiful, and popular, and millions of people wear them happily. They are here because every one of them asks something of you in exchange, and if nobody tells you what it is, you find out later and you pay for it. Tier D, expensive to own. 4 shapes. Number 20, the baguette as a center stone. A baguette is a long, narrow rectangle with straight step cut facets running across it. Hold that thought too, because this one also comes back. As the main stone in a ring, it is the least amount of diamond you can buy for your money. Step cutting means broad, flat planes instead of the small angled facets that create sparkle. And on a stone this narrow, those planes have no room to do anything interesting. a flash, and then nothing. It also has 4 sharp corners and almost no structural mass to protect them. There is a version of this all over mall jewelry, where a ring is built from several baguettes clustered to look like one large diamond. That is doing exactly what it appears to be doing, turning a small amount of cheap diamond into the illusion of a big one. Nothing illegal about it. Just know you are buying a lot of edges and very little stone. Number 19, the princess. The second most popular engagement shape in the world, and the one I have to be most careful about, because there is nothing wrong with a princess cut except the 4 things nobody tells you. Start with the good, because it is real. The princess is a brilliant cut, using the same family of faceting as a round, so it genuinely sparkles. Its inverted pyramid pavilion throws light beautifully, and it costs roughly 20 to 30% less per carat than a matched round. Now the price of admission. First, the corners. Those 4 90-degree corners give the princess its sharp modern look, and they are also, in GIA's own words, the structurally weakest points on the stone, because cleavage planes there have carbon atoms bonded less tightly. Corner chipping is the most commonly reported damage on princess cuts, and it happens from ordinary life. Catching your hand on a countertop is enough. Every princess needs prongs covering all 4 corners, or a bezel. Not optional. Minimum. Second, and this genuinely surprises people, a princess often looks smaller than its carat weight, because a deep pavilion buries a significant part of what you paid for underneath, out of sight, doing nothing for the size on your hand. Third, that deep pavilion concentrates body color, so a princess needs a better color grade than a round to face up equally white. Most buyers should stay at H or better. And fourth, the missing grade from the start of this video bites hardest right here. There is no GIA cut grade on a princess, so every proportion decision lands on you. Number 18, the pear. Now we get to the shapes that win big on my second question and pay for it on my third. A pear is a hybrid, round at one end and pointed at the other, and it looks about 8 to 12% larger face up than a round of the same weight. It also elongates the finger, which is a real advantage that has nothing to do with the diamond and everything to do with how it wears, the costs. That single point is exposed and fragile, and it needs a V-shaped prong wrapping and shielding it. If somebody shows you a pear where the tip sits naked and unprotected, that is not a design choice. That is a repair scheduled for a future date. Then the bow tie. In elongated, brilliant shapes, when the facets under the middle do not return light properly, a dark shadow appears across the waist shaped like a bow tie. Every pear has some. A good one has so little you must hunt for it. A bad one has a black band across the center of your diamond permanently, and no cleaning, setting, or lighting removes it. This is why you never buy an elongated shape from a photograph. You need to see it move, and symmetry. The 2 shoulders of a pear must mirror each other exactly. When they do not, the stone looks like it is leaning, and once you have seen it, you cannot unsee it. Number 17, the marquise. The marquise is the most misunderstood shape in this entire ranking, and depending on what you value, it is either the smartest buy in the video or the biggest mistake in it. The case for it is strong. The marquise shows the largest face up size of any shape here, roughly 15 to 20% larger than a round of identical weight. A 1 carat marquise reads on the hand like a 1.2 carat round, and it sits in the cheapest band with the step cuts, 25 to 35% below a round. On pure visual size per dollar, nothing beats it. Now the bill. 2 points instead of the pear's one, double the fragility, both needing protection. The bow tie is worse in a marquise than in any other shape, because the stone is so long, typically a length to width ratio around 2 to 1, and that length is exactly what creates the dark zone. And symmetry is unforgiving. The 2 points must line up perfectly across the axis, and the widest part must sit dead center, or it looks warped. So the marquise sits here not because it is a bad shape, but because it has the widest gap between a great example and a mediocre one, and most of what sits in retail cases is mediocre. Get a great one and you have beaten the system. Get a careless one and you have bought a long, dark stone with 2 chipped ends. And that gap is exactly why we now cross into a different kind of tier. Everything below this point costs you something. Everything from here on does not cost you anything. It just needs to be the right shape for the right person. Tier C. For the right person. 4 shapes. Number 16, the Asker. A square step cut with cropped corners, a deep pavilion, and a look completely different from everything so far. Where a brilliant cut shatters light into small, bright pieces, an Aster does the opposite. It creates what the trade calls a hall of mirrors, long rectangular flashes stacking back into the stone, and looking into one is more like looking into water than its sparkle. If you like that, nothing else will satisfy you. But understand what you are taking on. A step cut is a window. Those big open facets have nowhere to hide an inclusion, so a flaw that would vanish inside a brilliant cut sits in plain view. The industry standard for a step cut is VS2 clarity or better, and that is not snobbery. That is what it takes to look clean to your eye. Same with color, because step cuts show body tint more readily. The Astra does get a point back on durability, because those cropped corners remove the 90-degree geometry that hurts the princess. They still need solid prongs. The honest verdict. The Astra is not for someone who wants a diamond to sparkle across a restaurant. It is for someone who wants a diamond to look architectural in the hand. Number 15. The emerald. Everything I said about the Astra applies, stretched into a rectangle, and it is the shape with the most personality of any step cut. Long parallel facets, an open table like a sheet of glass, and that unmistakable Art Deco authority. The emerald reads large. Its open table and elongated outline give real presence for the weight, and it sits in the cheaper band, roughly 25 to 35% below round, which sounds like the best value in this video until you remember the catch. That saving evaporates because an emerald forces you upward on clarity and color. You are not saving money. You are moving it from carat into clarity. Sometimes that trade is great. Just know you are making it. There is a phrase in the trade about this shape. The emerald cut is honest. It hides nothing, not an inclusion, not a tint, not a lazy cut. Every other shape on this list is to some degree camouflage. This one is a confession. Number 14, the rose cut. Now we step out of the modern catalog entirely and into two antique cuts. And if you watch the video on vintage rings on this channel, you already know why they matter. A rose cut is one of the oldest diamond cuts in existence. A domed top covered in large triangular facets radiating out like the petals of an opening rose, and underneath, nothing. No pavilion at all. Completely flat bottom. Which means it does not sparkle in the modern sense. It glows. A soft, watery internal shimmer, and next to a modern brilliant, it looks like a stone that forgot to turn on. That is exactly why people dismiss antique rose cuts as glass, and exactly why they are being rediscovered by buyers tired of aggressive sparkle. Practically, the flat bottom puts all the weight at the top, so a rose cut looks enormous for its carat weight. It sits low, close to the hand, and catches on nothing, so on durability, it is quietly excellent. It sits in this tier only because it demands that you actually want a quiet stone. Buy one expecting fire, and you will be disappointed every day. Number 13, the old mine cut. The direct ancestor of everything modern. Hand-shaped from the early 1700s through the late 1800s, before machines. A softly squared cushion outline, a small flat table, a tall crown, a deep body, and a distinct open hole in the center when you look straight down, called the coulet, which modern diamonds do not have. These stones were cut for candlelight. That is not a poetic flourish. It is the engineering brief. A modern, brilliant fires under bright electric light. An old mine cut was built to gather a small warm flame and return it as broad, slow flashes. Under your kitchen ceiling light, it can look sleepy. Under a single warm lamp, it does something no modern stone can do. Every old mine cut is a little different, because a human being made each one by hand, judging it by eye. On my 3 questions, it is genuinely uneven, because these are individual antiques rather than a manufactured standard. That is exactly why it sits here rather than higher. Buy the individual stone, never the category. If you are enjoying this ranking, subscribe, because from here on the tiers change character completely. Everything below this point asks something of you. Everything above it starts giving something back, and the next 4 shapes are where the numbers quietly turn in your favor. Tier B, smart money. 4 shapes. Number 12, the old European cut. The bridge between the antique world and the modern one, and one of the most underpriced things in the diamond market right now. It became possible only after a steam-driven machine for rounding diamonds was patented in 1874, and it dominated everything until the 1930s. Round outline like a modern stone, but still carrying the old soul, a high crown, a small table, a visible coulet. Here's why it sits in smart money rather than the antique tier. Modern grading penalizes antique proportions when it assesses cut. A high crown and a small table are not what the modern ideal wants to see. So old European cuts frequently sell for less per carat than a modern brilliant of the same color and clarity, purely for being what they are. The market charges you less because the stone refuses to be modern. Real diamond, real age, a look nobody else at the table will have, and a discount for it. The only thing to accept is that it will not fire like a modern stone. It was never trying to. Number 11, the cushion. Now back to the modern catalog, and to the shape I probably recommend more often than any other for people who are not sure what they want. A cushion is a square or rectangle with rounded corners and soft edges, and that description does all the work in this tier. Rounded corners mean no exposed geometry, which puts the cushion alongside round and oval as one of the most durable shapes for daily wear. Brilliant style faceting, but with larger, chunkier facets than a round, producing a softer, warmer scatter of light instead of rapid glitter, and it prices around 20 to 30% under a round. Those chunky facets carry a hidden advantage. Brilliant cuts hide inclusions and body color better than step cuts, and a cushion is particularly forgiving. You can often drop a grade or two on clarity and color and still have a stone that looks flawless to your eye. That is money staying in your pocket. Number 10, the elongated cushion. Same shape, one number different, and that one number is why it gets its own place in this ranking. A standard cushion is roughly square, around 1 to 1. An elongated cushion is stretched to 1.2 or 1.3 to 1. Everything good stays: the rounded corners, the durability, the soft light, the forgiving facets. But now the weight spreads along a longer axis, so it covers more finger, reads noticeably larger, and flatters the hand the way an oval does. Same money, same stone, sitting differently. This is exactly the sort of thing that never comes up in a store unless you raise it, because a salesperson shows you what is in the case, not what is possible. Number 9, the radiant. The shape that deserves to be far more popular than it is, and the one I would point almost every princess buyer towards. A radiant is a square or rectangular outline with cropped corners and full brilliant style faceting inside. That is the entire pitch. It gives you the crisp geometric outline and the bright sparkle of a princess, and it removes the exact feature that makes a princess fragile. No 90-degree corners. They are cut off. The single greatest structural weakness in the second most popular shape in the world, simply engineered out. On top of that, its brilliant faceting hides inclusions and color well. It prices 20 to 30% below a round, and the elongated version gives real face-up size. So why does almost nobody ask for it? Because it does not have a name people grew up with. The princess had marketing. The radiant did not. That is the whole difference, and it is why this shape sits here quietly outperforming the shape everybody knows. Which brings us to the top, and to the two shapes that survive all three of my questions. Tier A, the best. Two shapes. Number 8, the oval. The oval does something almost no product ever manages, which is to be a compromise that gives up almost nothing. It uses brilliant style faceting closely related to a round, so it sparkles in the same family. No corners and no points, which puts it among the most durable shapes for daily wear. It shows 10 to 15% more face-up area than a round of the same weight, so your carat looks bigger. It elongates the finger. It hides color and inclusions well, like all brilliant cuts. And it costs meaningfully less per carat than a round. That is all three of my questions answered well, plus a discount. Two things to watch, the same two from earlier. The bow tie, which every oval has to some degree and which you must see in motion, never in a photo. And the ratio, because ovals vary enormously. Around 1.35 to 1.5 reads balanced. Lower and it looks like a slightly failed round. Higher and it looks long and thin. Get those two right and the oval is, dollar for dollar, the most efficient center stone in the modern catalog. Number 7, the round brilliant. And here it is, the number 1 shape in this ranking, and I want to give you the honest version, including the part that costs you. 57 or 58 facets arranged with more mathematical precision than anything else in gems, engineered to maximize the light coming back at your eye. It is the brightest shape there is. No corners, no points, so it is the most durable. It is about 28% of all engagement rings, which gives it the deepest resale market on Earth. And critically, it is the only shape GIA gives an overall cut grade to, which makes it the only shape where a certificate actually protects you from a badly cut stone. Now the price. A round costs roughly 15 to 35% more per carat than a comparable fancy shape, and the reason is not marketing, it is physics. To pull a round out of rough, a cutter throws away around 60% of the original crystal. You are paying for the diamond that ended up as dust. And because a round concentrates its weight into a compact deep shape, it is one of the least efficient shapes for face-up size, which produces the scene from the beginning of this video. A 1 carat round beside a 1 carat marquise or oval, costing more, looking smaller. So the round is number 1, and it earns it. And I want you to walk away knowing exactly what its crown costs. Best performing, best protected, most liquid shape in the world, and you pay a premium for every part of that. Now, before we finish, we owe 6 shapes an apology, and we owe 2 of them a full retraction, because there is a whole category of shapes that fail as center stones and are superb somewhere else. These are the accent shapes, the ones that sit beside the main event, and judging them by the same 3 questions is like judging a bass player on whether they can sing. Number 6, the baguette, the same one from Tier D. As a center stone, it is thin and lifeless. As a side stone flanking a larger diamond, it is one of the most elegant things in jewelry. Those long, clean step-cut planes create a calm frame that makes the center stone look brighter by contrast, and the straight edges sit flush with no awkward gaps. Half the great Art Deco rings in history are built on baguettes. Number 5, the tapered baguette. Same idea, but narrowing along its length, so a pair of them physically funnel your eye inward toward the center stone. It is a piece of visual engineering hiding inside a piece of jewelry, and it is the reason so many mid-century rings feel like the center diamond is floating. Number 4, the trillion, and here is the retraction I promised. That triangle that failed so badly as a center stone is arguably the best side stone in existence. Set on either side of a main diamond with the flat edge against it, it adds real width and a burst of brightness. Its shallow cut, a flaw in the center, is now a virtue, because side stones should not compete on depth. And all that exposed corner geometry is suddenly tucked safely under prongs and beside metal. Number 3, the half moon. A semicircle, flat on one side and rounded on the other, and the most comfortable side stone there is, because that curve follows the finger and the band instead of fighting them. Beside an oval or a cushion, it looks like it grew there. Number 2, the kite. A 4-sided shape like a diamond in a card deck, the modern favorite for people who want something geometric and slightly off-center. Set with the point outward, it makes a ring look sharper and more designed. And number 1 among the accents, the shield. 5-sided, flat across the top, tapering to a point below, and the most architectural of them all. Shields flanking a step-cut center stone give you the look of serious high jewelry for a fraction of what a bigger center stone would cost, which is exactly the trick this channel is always looking for. So there is the retraction. Baguette and trillion near the bottom and the center of a ring near the top of their own category. The lesson underneath it is the one worth keeping. There is no such thing as a bad shape. There is only a shape in the wrong job. And that brings me to the honest note, because a ranking like this needs one. Everything here is a framework for value, not a verdict on beauty. The 3 questions tell you what you are paying and what you are risking. They do not tell you what you will love, and they were never going to. A badly chosen round is worse than a well-chosen heart. A dull, poorly cut oval bought without ever seeing it move is worse than a spectacular marquise chosen with your eyes open. And this is the part that matters most. The worst shape on this list, on a hand that lights up every time she looks at it, beats the best shape on this list, sitting in a drawer because it was the sensible choice. Cut quality beats shape every single time. A superbly cut fancy shape will outperform a mediocre round, and it does not care what tier I put it in. So how do you actually use this? 3 rules. Rule 1. Decide which of my 3 questions is your question. Want maximum sparkle and the safest resale, take a round and accept the premium as the cost of the best. Want the largest look for your money, take an elongated shape, an oval, an elongated cushion, a pear, a marquise, and accept the bow tie hunt and the point protection as homework. Want calm elegance and architecture, take a step cut and accept that you are moving money from carat into clarity. Rule 2. Never buy a fancy shape from a photograph. Remember the missing grade. There is no GIA cut grade on any shape except a round, so the certificate cannot tell you whether it is beautiful. You need to see it move, in video or in your hand, and you need to look for the bow tie in anything elongated. Rule 3. Match the shape to the setting and to the life. If it has a point or a corner, it needs a V-prong or a bezel, and that is a requirement, not a suggestion. If you are hard on your hands, a rounded shape without exposed geometry, a round, an oval, a cushion, a radiant, will simply survive you better. And watch the girdle. GIA notes that a very thin knife edge girdle raises the risk of damage, no matter which shape you chose. And then the same answer this channel gives every week. Take the shortlist to a good independent jeweler and ask to see the stones side by side, moving under normal light rather than display case spotlights. They will tell you which one is actually well cut, and they have no monthly target pushing you toward whatever the case is heavy on. That 1 hour will do more for your purchase than any ranking on the internet, including mine. Now tell me in the comments which shape you are wearing and whether this ranking put it where you expected. If I just insulted the diamond on your hand, tell me that too. I read every one, and the shape arguments in these comments are always better than the video. This channel takes no sponsorships and no paid placements. No brand, no retailer, no diamond seller pays to be praised or buried here, and that independence is the only reason I can tell you that the most popular shape in the world costs a premium and looks smaller than its weight. If straight answers like this are why you keep coming back, the join button below makes you a member and keeps these breakdowns honest. 3 questions. How much light? How much size for the money? And will it survive you? Answer those, and the shape almost chooses itself. I will see you in the next one.